Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today as we gear up for our virtual Be the Bridge Spring Benefit. My name is Katie Phillips, and I am the Executive Director at Lake Washington Schools Foundation. We are excited to be joined today by Shannon Brennan of Waste Management. Waste Management has been a longtime partner of Lake Washington Schools Foundation, and in years past, Waste Management has supported us in making our luncheon a zero waste event. Since we are not together in person at the event this year, we're going to hear from Waste Management about how each of us can successfully host a zero waste event in our own homes.
Thank you so much, Katie, for that wonderful introduction. WM greatly values our partnership with the Lake Washington Schools Foundation, and we're excited to discuss the best practices for hosting zero waste events in your own home. WM is deeply committed to sustainability and ensuring everyone has the knowledge to reduce their own waste production. As we begin to re-enter the world of in-person social gatherings, hosting parties, and more, it's important that we keep sustainability and waste reduction at the front of our minds. Today, I'm going to be sharing some tips and tricks from WM as to how to host a zero waste event in your own home. The goal of a zero waste event is to divert as much material from the trash and landfill as possible. This means that we'll rely more on reusable and recyclable materials. The first tip to hosting a zero waste event is to provide easily accessible recycle, compost, and garbage bins. Ideally, you'll be able to use a smaller bin for landfill materials. Ensure these bins are co-located. This means having a compost, recycle, and garbage bin right next to each other to reduce contamination. If you're able, we recommend explaining what is able to go in each bin by creating a sign or list of recyclable and compostable materials they might find at your event. The second tip to hosting a zero waste event is to think of all the materials you might need to use and determine how you can use reusable, durable items. For instance, let's say you're hosting a gathering and you're going to be providing some snacks. You'll likely want to provide your guests with plates, silverware, and cups to use. Before you purchase plastic forks and plastic-lined plates, consider these options. If you're able, use reusable dishes. However, if you are trying to avoid washing so many dishes, you could also consider purchasing recyclable items. The third tip to hosting a zero waste event is to reduce food waste. For zero waste events, we want to reduce both the amount of food being wasted, as well as the amount of wrappers, containers, plastics, and more that food is often purchased in. To avoid having too much food, be sure to estimate how many people might be joining your gathering and purchase accordingly. If there are leftovers, ask guests to take some of those home with them, or ensure that food scraps are put in the compost. To avoid wrappers, plastic containers, and other wasteful materials, consider purchasing your food from a bulk bin. These often have options for many of the food items you might be looking for, and some grocery stores will allow you to bring your own container, but be sure to check with your grocery store if that's allowed. WM has worked with the Lake Washington Schools Foundation for many years to make this a zero waste luncheon event. Today, we'd like to encourage each of you to consider ways as we step back into an in-person world that you might be able to host zero waste events in your own home. Thank you, Lake Washington Schools Foundation, for your commitment to sustainability, and to everyone here for taking the time to learn a bit more about how to host a zero waste event. And Katie, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, Shannon, for sharing these tips on hosting zero waste events. We are so appreciative of the ongoing and generous support that we have received from Waste Management over the years. We hope that everyone takes these tips and finds a way to use them. Maybe at a watch party for the event this year, if you're going to gather folks together to watch the event. Either way, we hope that you're able to make it to our event this year to learn more about all the work the Lake Washington Schools Foundation is doing in the community.